Hello there friends, we're slowly coming out of the New Year holidays and getting back into the work mode. Luckily, there's a lot of content to cover. We've got announcements of new teams, cheaters taking over the major qualifiers, updates on who made it to the HLTV top, and much more. Also, huge tournaments start really soon, so expect a lot of content. Without further ado, let's get straight to it. As always, we start with the roster shuffles, and luckily there's a couple of interesting announcements. For instance, Mouse decided to keep Brolin. As you may recall, he performed well at the last Blast, and now the team has taken him on loan. Perhaps a buyout wasn't really possible, and there are rumors that NIP is asking for a substantial amount of money. How long this loan will last is unknown, but it's a decent replacement for Frozen, and the team seems to be playing well together, by the way. The second announcement for today is pretty much intriguing too. The Paris Vision roster led by former Force captain Jerry didn't live up to expectations. The team was eliminated from all championships, and everyone forgot about them. After this, it became known that the management removed almost the entire previous lineup, leaving only Jerry and X5. But then they decided to add Kickert, Patsy, and Artfrost. This gang looks genuinely interesting now. Let's see what the guys can show. Personally, I expect them to perform at the level of BB team, for example, or something like that, like a tier 1.5 team. A significant merger also taking place for the entire Spanish pro scene. Mad Lions, Movistar Riders, and Koi decided to unite, like a Megazord. They simply combined the three tags into one, Koi. They took the best players from Riders, added a sniper, and here we go, a new team. But there were also changes in other disciplines these teams had, pretty much looking the same. They gathered the best from each lineup and merged them. Here's an interesting fact: Koi as the org belongs to Spanish streamer Ibai, who has 15 million followers. You know, the Mr. Beast of streamers. The other announcements may not be as significant, but I still can't skip them. For example, Team Secret is making a return to the pro scene. The roster may not be particularly hyped in CS, but they are strong in other disciplines. Maybe something will work out for them in CS as well. It's fun because the teams like Heroic and Mouse are re-entering Dota while Team Secret is re-entering CS. But the guys who really brought us a bit of excitement are the Brazilians. Remember when Fallen once gathered the Last Dance and they made some noise? Now the old gang decided to assemble it without Fallen in O Plano. FNX, Taco, Fur, Bolts, and KNGV. It's literally a hype machine for all of Brazil. It's a pity no one really expects significant success from them, but I feel like the Fure VC O Plano match will set a new online viewership record, especially when Goles is casting. To wrap things up, there is a couple of more roster shuffles. For example, Heavy God is moving to OG. Now their lineup looks like this: Keto as the captain, Fico, Rigali, Nexius, and Heavy God. Honestly, I don't really like how this lineup looks personally. It seems more like a tier 2 team for CCT series, and that's all. But on the other hand, they might surprise us. Who knows? In my opinion, what 00 Nation pulled off is much more interesting. The team hasn't played since November, though it showed some promise at first. In case you forgot, it consists of Syrson, GDC, who once was shining in Mouse, and Bird from Sky. Now they've added Fasher and VLDN to their roster. It's a pretty solid lineup, to be honest. And the last but not the least in transfers, Joel, the player who was involved in match-fixing scandal, joined TSM, replacing Cypher. In case you missed it, a few months ago he was accused of match-fixing, officially banned by ESIC, but later he was unbanned. Joel stated that he would bring lawyers to the case and sue ESIC, and eventually it worked. I mean, should now every player banned by ESIC do the same, just hire lawyers to lift the bans? Anyways, now Joel is playing for TSM in the major qualifiers. Speaking of which, let's continue with them. Oh, wait guys, I almost forgot about this one. Captain America, you remember him? Nitro decided to switch back to Valorant. Yeah, I'm not joking. Such a back and forth movement between CS and Valorant is Wow, let's be fair, it says a lot. Now let's finally dive into the qualifiers. Usually we only discuss RMR and the major itself, however, for teams to get there they have to go through a real grinder. Any of you can gather a lineup and start your journey from online qualifiers just like right now. I mean, before they start, you can register. Typically, all CS legends who are currently inactive join in. For instance, Swedes like to play together in the evening in the qualifiers, stream it and get some emotions, you know? Young teams also participate, eager to make names for themselves. And of course, it's not without cheaters and players involved in match fixing. Now let's talk about the open qualifiers for the first CS2 major. Oh, and there were, I would be honest here, too many of them. The reason for that was the organization of these qualifiers and PGL. They usually face many issues with major tournaments, let alone the online part. I remind you that before the start of the qualifiers, Loba mentioned on Twitter that there will be no anti-cheat at all. It's like anyone can just join CS with cheats and play against renowned pro players. It turned out that there was an anti-cheat system in place, Challenger mode, but it was so buggy that it started causing issues with Windows for some players. You know, it can't download, can't update, for others it caused CS to crash and all that. In short, it was a complete disaster. And do you know why they couldn't use the standard Faceit anti-cheat which almost everyone has? Because it's owned by PGL's competitor, ESL. So they chose not to use it and instead went with a raw buggy solution, as if CS2 itself didn't have enough bugs. But that was just the beginning. Next, the website where all these matches were being held crashed. Some teams couldn't even press ready to start the games, and some were awarded technical losses for this. Yes, these were later cancelled and restarted, but it's still frustrating, especially when it's the most important moment of your career and the probably most important tournament of CS2. You could be on your way to the major and then you face such issues. Note that the matches hadn't even started yet. Teams were facing huge problems even before the game began. While some were dealing with crashes from the anti-cheat, others were reinstalling Windows. And some couldn't even register on the website, leading to match delays of 2 or 3 hours. And when some matches finally started, it was complete chaos. GoTV kept disconnecting, servers crashed, and players were constantly dropping out. And this wasn't just a one-time thing, it happened almost in every match, 5 to 10 times each. Can you imagine the absurdity of the whole situation? There are supposed to be 4 such qualifiers, and all these issues occurred in the very first one. The format allows you to play in open qualifiers, and if you pass, you move on to the closed qualifiers, which start on January 18th. The top teams like Navi, Cloud9, Mouse, and others who have enough Valve points to avoid this grinder but not enough to directly enter the RMR will be there. Why? Basically because among these top teams, a lot of roster changes happened. So what did the pro players say about the first day of the qualifiers? For example, Smuya was furious like never before, as his team had to replay the same match 3 times in a row due to various bugs. RMR Discord has admins telling you to apply to some form which is full. We have lost our match without finishing a round and they're not responding. See you in qualifier number 2. Freaking joke. I think I'd rather put a toothpick under my toenail and boot a wall than deal with this open qualifier experience again. Oh my god, Smuya, why? I imagined this and it's really painful. Anyways, here's what Dupree says. It's sad and disappointing, and a tad unprofessional that the biggest tournament in our game gets this treatment. Not only for the game, but also for the players involved. I wished for something better. Or the words of Nico. It's pretty sad to see what's happening in the qualifiers for the first CS2 major. Even Simple, who is currently playing Valorant instead of CS, was shocked by what was happening. Community can destroy your reputation very easy, fix your crap challenger mode, hire more staff, or borrow them from other platforms. And continuing with players' opinions, Syrson stated, "This is the worst open qualifier experience I've ever had so far." And to sum it all up, Kassad added, "You are organizing a multi-million-dollar event and you have 1 year to prepare for it, and this is what you come up with, PGL? Anti-cheat doesn't work, dropping people, the platform doesn't work, teams investing money and time for this?" And in general, as you can see, people are not happy. And this is only the technical part. With such an anti-cheat and technical issues, questions arise about cheaters and raider hackers. This systematically leads us to the results of the first open qualifiers. So, out of all 800 registered teams, only 4 made it to the closed qualifiers on the first attempt. These are the Spanish-Portuguese team KOI, Polish Thunderflash, Fnatic, and Entropique. Many others didn't even make it to HLTV. Among those left behind are the newcomers Bleed, the new 9 roster, and the legendary squad of XGOT, Dosia. Nemiga and many others also faced elimination. However, nothing to be really scared about for now, as 3 more qualifiers are yet to come. In this way, new Power Vision roster, Smuya's team, OG, Heroic, Flush and Shocks lineup, and many others missed the mark. Some of them were eliminated due to cheaters or controversies, let's say. For instance, the team of former Navi coach Kane believes they lost to cheaters and requests PGL's intervention. A couple of teams already got their bans. For example, Nevermore, they defeated KOI, but since they were caught cheating, the Spanish team advanced, ultimately making it to the closed qualifiers. Another peculiar moment occurred when the T side decided to go back from attacking bombsite A just a second before the clash. It seems that less well-known teams almost certainly lost to cheaters as well. Whether there were actual cheaters or if it was an issue with the anti-cheat, we're unlikely to find out soon. However, there were scandals in almost every match. Another interesting development was the game between OG and a mix of CIS players. OG managed to lose to the Stag, but it turned out that the coach of the mix was streaming the match on Twitch and communicating with his team on TeamSpeak. But according to Valve's rules, no one other than 5 players can be in TeamSpeak. Players themselves reveal that in reality all teams do this. Even ESL advises coaches to be with the team until Valve creates a separate slot for coaches in online matches. However, the main folly here is that the coach of the mix blatantly streamed everything. Perhaps OG wasn't entirely fair in complaining and claiming this victory, but the coach should have realized that streaming a match as a coach wasn't a wise decision. And OG didn't achieve match anyway, as they were eliminated in the next round. This covers the essentials of the qualifiers for the first major in CS2, which will continue until January 18th. I think we can expect more scandals to discuss. In contrast, the American qualifiers were relatively calm. Liquid, led by Cadian, dominated everyone, even using some banned tactics. Also,
okay. And it's working. It's working. Oh. Why? Cadian is lurking B or lurking A with a P90 solo, and it's gonna work. It's gonna work.
The classic.
It's actually gonna. It definitely won. He definitely won.
Yeah.
This guy's just running through the smoke or through the molly. No, he's not.
He can. He literally can. Why would you?
He went for double right.
Also advancing to the closed qualifiers are Energy, Vagrants, and my life be like, ooh, sorry, just couldn't resist. And that concludes our discussion on the qualifiers for the first CS2 major. Now let's talk about a few more news items. For example, alongside Cloud9, Blast's partners now include Spirit, Virtus.pro, Gamer Legion, and of course Team Falcons. Blast has implemented numerous reforms in their regulations, so we're looking forward to their next tournaments even more. Additionally, a minor update regarding the major. Valve has allowed players from the age of 14 to participate. Previously, the age limit was 16. This means top teams can now sign super young talents without waiting for their 16th birthday, as it was the case with Monacy. That's all for the major news for today. We only have to discuss the HLTV top ranking now. In the last video, we stopped at the 13th place. Next up is Frozen. This is actually his best career result. I honestly thought he would made it to the top 10, but no. It seems that after moving to FaZe, he now even has more opportunities opportunities to get to top 10. According to HLTV, Frozen is one of the most consistent pro scene players, ranking in the top 5 for cast and steady rating. His main issue was that Mouse rarely made it to the playoffs, and when they did, Frozen wasn't particularly strong. He didn't perform poorly, but he didn't shine either. Plus, he missed a major, hence the 12th place. At 11th place, we have Device, marking a splendid comeback for Nikolai. After leaving Astralis, things went downhill for him. In 2021, he was 11th once again with an IP, followed by a prolonged inactive period, a breakup, burnout, and depression. After such challenges in life, many players don't make a return, but that's certainly not the case for Device. He had an outstanding year, delivering impressive performances. If not for the constant roster changes in Astralis, he could have achieved an even higher ranking. Device holds the third highest impact globally, ranks second in the world for the number of maps with a rating above 1.30, and stands at the 5th position in ratings against the best teams. The main issue was that Astralis missed all the major events of the year. They didn't qualify for Katowice, missed the major, and rarely showed any noteworthy results. According to HLTV, Device has impressive statistics, consistently performing well everywhere, but Astralis rarely made it to the playoffs, hence he occupies the 11th place. Opening the top 10 is Brokey. This is expected and well deserved as well. The situation is the opposite of Device's. Brokey wasn't as good as Device, with his statistics fluctuating between 10th and 20th places. However, the key here is that he achieved it in one of the best teams in the world, making it to almost all the playoffs and frequently reaching finals and winning some. FaZe grabbed 3 tournaments in a row at the beginning of the CS2 era and later reached the grand final twice. Although this year was slightly less successful for them than the previous one, it was still very fruitful. So Brokey's number 10 is entirely deserved. Next is the 9th place, occupied by Stavn. One could rejoice for the guy and move on, if not for all the disputes between Heroic and Astralis. Regarding his gameplay, there are no questions about Stavn. He consistently maintained an excellent level and earned EVP reliably. The reason he didn't climb higher is that his not so great performance in key matches. If, for example, in Astralis only Device and BlameF carried the game, resulting in impressive stats, Heroic had everyone contributing, even Captain Cadian. And the situation is similar in FaZe, where if everyone performs well, it's hard to stand out unless you're Simple or Zyvu. It's unfortunate that this Heroic story ended on such a note. Claiming the 8th place is Shiro. On one hand, it's surprising to see him so high, considering he missed the end of the season. On the other hand, last year he was in the top 3. Indeed, his statistics dropped. Cloud9 skipped many tournaments, underwent a complete roster overhaul, and didn't often reach playoffs. However, despite these factors, Shiro is in the top 3 in various indicators, such as kills per round, multi-kills, stability, and rating against the world's best teams. With such stats, he could have easily made it to the top 5, but due to the missing the end of the year, including all blasts and the major, Shiro settled for the 8th place. And he was ambushed by none other than Simple. This is his worst performance since 2016. That's how long Simple has been at the top, and we've grown accustomed to seeing him at least in the top 2. It's honestly amazing how long he's been impressing us with his gameplay. This year was far from the most successful for Simple in Navi. 0 trophies, just 1 grand final, a complete team overhaul, and all that. Plus 3 months of inactivity. But even despite this, he still showed very impressive figures. 4 EVPs, consistent comebacks in the playoffs, and by a multitude of metrics, he's in the top 5. However, judging by the comments and the community's reaction, many believe that Simple was ranked too high. His rating is worse than Shiro's, he missed 3 months and never played CS2 at tournaments. By last year's Simple's standards, he played terribly, but even that was enough to make it into the top 7. Some people even say that HLTV is turning into France football, where Ballon d'Ors are given for media presence, while others really believe it's well deserved. Friends, write in the comments below whether you agree with Simple's 7th place or not. Now, here's a reaction from Sasha himself.
7 HLTV is like top 6, is like top 5, is like top 4, top 3, top 2, is fucking shit. Just let you know. For me. My personal opinion. Nothing else matters than number 1. So it doesn't matter.
And Simple himself jokes about having 0 games in CS2 and still being in 7th place, and he would even swap places with Frozen. Isn't that a gracious act from Simple? Anyways, guys, let's keep our eyes on the qualifiers as they're not done yet, and continue to be amazed by the HLTV top rankings. Who knows how can they surprise us even more? Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with all the CS news available. Time to stop resting